How is everyone? Nice to see you all. Did you have a good Christmas? Was it good, everybody? Yeah? Hello.
Yes, thank you.
I'm so glad to see you. So I would like to ask you, first of all, if any of you have seen the latest video that we posted. Have you watched it? Yeah? Suzanne, you did?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did. It was really wonderful to watch. I thank you for it.
Yes. And you, Heather, as well? If you have any reflections as a midwife or any comments?
This is the breech one, yes?
Yes, the breech one.
Oh my goodness. So it brought me back to a couple of years ago. I had to do one by myself, a surprise one by myself. And it was a little complicated. It wasn't quite as complicated as that one, but it was close. Once I was able to, because the baby was when I came in, and anyway, hanging out as I'm walking in and all by myself, not expecting a breech baby. Anyway, so it was kind of exciting. But it resolved pretty well once we were able to turn the baby around, and it happened in a very different way than I expected to. But yeah, so it was really neat to see another breech birth that required maneuvers. As much as we love seeing the ones that come easily, it's important to also see the ones that don't, so we can see what to do. And
can you tell us a little bit about the one you attended? How did you turn the baby around? Tell us.
So the warning that I got when I was driving to the birth, because the midwife, I was only assisting. I was a midwife too, but I was assisting this other midwife, and she called and said, she might be further along than she thinks, and you're closer, so just head on over. And so I was getting ready, and then the couple called me because I know them personally as well, and it was the dad, and he said, when are you going to be here? So, well, I'm just going to go eat breakfast and go, and because I have some blood sugar stuff, and then I hear her in the background, I need someone right now. So I jumped in the car and start driving, and then I thought, well, maybe I should call her and coach her on how to not push until we get there, so she can feel better about, not having an unassisted birth. And so I called her, and the dad says, I'm so glad you called. The feet just came out. And I said, excuse me, did you just say the feet came out? So I was still kind of groggy because it had only been about 2 minutes since I woke up. And he's like, yeah, and should I pull the rest of the baby out? And I'm like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. And they just lived around the corner, so it wasn't far. And I asked him to describe the baby's position. He described a posterior breech baby, and I thought, okay, all right. And I'm running through maneuvers in my mind, and I'd been to a breech workshop maybe 6 months prior, and was going to go to one with Dr. Stu in another month. And I thought if she could have just waited a month. Anyway, but it was fine. So I get there, and the baby's body is out and one arm is out, but one arm is not and is up here. And so I take a towel and I grab the baby's sacrum, and I turn the way that looks like it makes sense, and it does not make sense. The baby did not want to go that way, but it did release the arm, so it was fine. And then I look, and the baby's still very posterior. Trying to describe what she was doing. She was upright. She was leaning over a table.
And the baby's chin was facing the mother's pubic bone?
Yes, and the baby's chin was on the mother's pubic bone. So I could see that she was going to need assistance. And so I, apologized graciously and said, hey, I'm going to have to go in and free your baby here, and reached up, and I found the baby's cheekbone and was able to pull the baby's head off the pubic bone, which actually was the opposite way than it looked like it should have gone, but that was the way the baby wanted to go. And as soon as the baby was free, then she pushed the baby, came right out. I did do the shoulder press, kind of unconsciously. I didn't realize what I was doing until I was doing it. And I went, oh, hey, that's actually super. So I feel like my hands were guided there, but otherwise it was, once we resolved everything, the baby came right out. So I didn't have to use as much force as he was using in the video. I was grateful for that as I was watching it going, oh, that could have been much harder. And I was all by myself.
Yeah. Wow. That's beautiful. And then the main midwife arrived a while later, I imagine.
She did about 10 minutes after the baby was born. And I did do bag and mask. I only gave inflation breaths, so that's all he needed. And she walked in and my blood sugar was so low at that time, I wasn't thinking very clearly. And I said, oh, good, you're here. And I walked out of the room. I didn't even tell her what happened.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was kind of funny. I didn't even realize that till months later, that I hadn't really passed the torch or given a report or anything. I just left and let her take over
To the kitchen.
thing and be back in my right mind again. Sorry, I have someone who wants to talk.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing that experience with us. So just on hindsight, going over the video after having had that breech birth, you felt like, oh, it could have been harder, but also regarding the maneuver, did you feel like you were guided, like you instinctively knew what to do?
Yes. Oh, I did, for sure. And even though I had studied and I'd done training, I had never been to a breech birth at that point. But I felt like I was guided and things were brought back to my memory. So, hi, yeah. And yes, there are friends there. And so I wasn't scared. I wasn't afraid. Felt like I knew what to do and I felt like I was being guided. And I feel like even as I was watching that video, if it had been harder, if it had been that hard, I think it would have been okay. I think we would have just kept trying because that's what we just keep trying.
Yeah, great. And anybody else watched it? The amazing breech birth video we posted? Hello, Alexa. Did you watch it? And Mary, you're waking up in a beautiful sunny morning. Good morning to you.
I am. Thank you. Good morning. It's a bit of a grey day here, but that's nice. I haven't. Is that the most recent one, Naoli, that you just posted yesterday? Or yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch that yet. No, unfortunately.
Okay.
But I did watch. I did really enjoy watching. Just jumping to another topic, if I can, to the rolling babies one.
Yes.
I didn't know what to expect from the title, although it's very self-explanatory. I was a bit shocked when I saw that to start with, but then I became very intrigued, and it was quite amazing to watch the babies rolling like that. And I'm looking forward to suggesting or trying that with families. And I guess obviously when you have a relationship based on trust, then I imagine that they would do whatever you suggest that they would do. But yeah, I just wonder how do all families sort of receive that suggestion relatively well? Or I guess I feel like it would help to show them the video rather than just explaining what it is.
Yeah, you can share the video with everybody. We were just talking about it in the earlier session in French, and Vivian was saying how in her social media everybody was quite appalled. My goodness, never would I do that to the baby. Oh my goodness. But then some of the professionals started commenting, oh my goodness, that is exactly what's needed because it stimulates this and such reflex. And she was talking about exactly what systems were being stimulated by that, and that they all made complete sense. So then as soon as the professionals started commenting that that was exactly appropriate, then the people were like quieting down, like, oh. So I was saying to Vivian, maybe we'll add a little appendix to the video with the professionals explaining how good it is for the baby's system in a more clinical, more physiological explanation. But yes,
that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, you can do it from very early, few days old. It doesn't have contraindications, and at least in Mexico, everybody's just totally open to it. And when you begin doing it, as you do it with the mother or the father, and they have to get the gist of it. So you begin slow, by the time you've learned the rhythm and how to raise the rebozo, then the baby started rolling slowly. And then by the time you get comfortable and the mother gets comfortable, the baby's rolling fast. And usually you can see the baby totally enchanted, you know, the eyes wide open, they stop crying. They just sort of relax into the fun of it.
Yeah.
So yes,
Amazing.
try it. Anybody else tried it in the last week or so?
Did with my very wiggly boy who's away now.
You tried it, and
he's a little older. He's about 7.5 months, but he still loved it. He was upset about me wrapping him up because he likes to move.
yeah.
But as soon as we started rolling him, he just laughed and laughed and thought it was the best thing ever. And my 7-year-old daughter helped me with it. So it was me and my 7-year-old doing the rebozo.
Oh, I think we should continue doing it all the way to being adults. It's fun. It's no surprise that children love going to the fair and getting up on those crazy, what do you call them? The merry-go-round and all those wild games that
The
are very
rides.
dizzy-making. Children love dizzy-making, you know, toys and games. They love to be spinned around fast. You know, if you notice the kinds of games that small children like, it's usually quite active and, you know, head up. You can grab a baby and hold them by the feet and the head is down, and then you can swing them and they love it. So I've read that the natural instinct of mothers of rocking a baby, as soon as somebody's holding a baby, they start rocking it. It helps to stimulate the cognitive connections of the brain, like the neurons. So all the movements do that for babies, you know, for the small children.
Well, I definitely going to do it. I used to do something like that with babies when they are too fussy, but we used to take like a towel, put the baby in the middle between two people like a hammock and just rock it. And they come immediately. But this one is like the evolution, the evolution of the hammock, because the hammock works perfect.
Yes.
And I think it has to do a lot with what you were saying. As a psychologist, I can see it, the way the proprioception works and all the connections in the brain. So the also blood with oxygen gets to parts of the brain that usually they don't have that much oxygen. And then, yeah, the babies gets calm. But I think it's a very nice technique. I like to see it. It was a very happy video.
And if you think about it, the digestive system is a system that gets upset when there is stress. When people are stressed out, when there is tension, you get like a tight stomach. So if a child is stressed out, maybe by tension, have you heard how colicky babies usually come to families of first-time parents? Mothers who are first-timers tend to have more colicky babies than mothers who are experienced, who have more babies. So it has to do with the tension and the stress of being a first parent, or in general. Oftentimes when you have visitors, if somebody picks up the baby who is kind of tense person, they'll just grab the baby. Oh, nice baby, nice baby. The babies get sort of tensed up and they absorb the energy. So it is quite common in Mexico when we have a day of visitors, you know, when a woman in postpartum receives more than just one visit, you know, the day of the visits, it's typical that at the end of the day, the baby is crying and just really antsy and fussy. So it has to do with absorbing the energy of other people and becoming stressed by it. And colic is the stomach cramping up and the digestive system getting tense. So releasing energy in the way of rolling would really be kind of what an adult would do, like, oh, I just want to get out and just take a walk or move around or dance or just do something to liberate the energy. There is even therapies for adults called grounding, where you hit the feet on the floor really strongly, yeah, or even screaming. You know, it's typical of really interesting proactive therapies in which you punch a pillow, you scream, you just liberate all the tension. And children, of course, they scream and they cry. You know, that's a way of relieving and releasing the energy. So it makes really pretty good sense that rolling and baby will help to free up that energy. Anytime we do some exercise, we feel tingling, right? Our body's like tingling. It seems like it's evaporating all the tension. I know anytime I go swimming, you know, my like swimming as a sport of like swimming for 40 or 50 minutes, the rest of the day I feel my body tingling, just like a release of energy that's very, very pleasurable. Or when we do yoga or any such of, you know, such exercises that help to stretch the muscles and to make the loosening of the tension. So babies, they can't really control their movements in a big way. All they can really do is cry and kick and scream. So I find it really beautiful that a traditional culture, a traditional people will develop systems and techniques for helping babies release energy in this way, or just, you know, the use of the rebozo. We use it as an extension of our hands or our embrace or our energetic selves to help the energy of the mother move through or the baby to move through. So it's all pretty ancient wisdom that, interestingly enough, it's being proven over and over as an evidence of the more holistic therapies that are coming up nowadays, you know, in the last decade or two. Yes. So I think you'll love to try it quite a bit. Anybody else watch
I wish I knew about it when
What's that? Mari.
Sorry, I was just saying I did have a colicky baby for my second, actually, and I felt like I was quite relaxed and didn't have many visitors at all. But I wish I knew about it then. I would have definitely tried it. She's 2.5 now, so she's probably too big. But yeah.
You can still do it with her and ask her if that's something she might have liked to do. You know, sometimes we get children to tell us about their, because when she's 2.5 years old, she still remembers a lot of being a small baby. So maybe you could even do it with her and ask her questions, just like to get her into like a trance.
Yeah, maybe I will. Thank you.
Okay.
If I can share one more story.
Please.
This was years ago, and I have an older son who has some pretty severe anxiety, and well, older. He's older now. He's 12 now, almost 13. But at the time, I think he was maybe 6 or 7 or something like that. And I had my rebozos, and I was just kind of creatively, intuitively playing with them with the rebozo, and we did hammock swings, and we did all sorts of relaxation things and shaking and pulling and stretching and tightening, and gosh, he sure had a blast. And then of course all the other kids wanted it too, so we all took turns playing in the rebozo, and it's a wonderful tool even for older kids.
And did it help him? Do you feel it did?
Absolutely. They want me to do it all the time, and I don't have the muscle strength for it, so
Oh, yeah. They can do it on each other now. You can teach them. Can be part of the game.
Naoli, I had a question for you about the breech birth video. And I am very early in my doula career, and I haven't seen any breech birth, and I haven't seen a lot of birth. But one thing I remember hearing was that like breathing is initiated by a change in temperature. And so particularly with the breech birth, that it's really important somehow to try to keep whatever bit has come out warm so that breathing isn't initiated. Mm-hmm. And I was just wondering if that is correct, or how that would apply to this video, because the legs were out for quite a long time. I mean, I was just amazed. I was watching it sort of like it was hard to watch. It felt like there was a lot of force, and I was really feeling sorry for the little baby, but also so amazed once they came that the doctor had the trust in the patients to just put baby down and let them come. I think that's very uncommon these days, that practitioners have trust in patients in the biological systems and aren't inclined immediately to start efforting on behalf of the baby. So it was very beautiful to see just how capable he was.
Yes. So to answer your question about the breathing reflex being stimulated by the change of temperature, from what I have read, and perhaps some of you might want to give an opinion, is that I remember reading about it regarding water birth, that it is mostly when this part of the face changes the temperature. When this part comes out of the water is when the baby will start breathing. So if that is so, then of course the breech, would also wait until this area of the head will touch the air to become, reactive towards breathing. But I also remember early on in my midwifery life that that I heard about wrapping the baby's body to keep it warm, and in this case they were not at all worried about it, and I didn't seem, to notice in the births that I watched in this hospital any breathing efforts before the head was out. So I don't know if anybody else would like to also comment on this.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Barbara from Water Birth International, she does a YouTube video for VIDM on the physiologically what causes a baby to breathe and why it doesn't breathe underwater. And I find sometimes when, especially if there's been a little bit of fetal distress during labor, when the baby's head is out, then it will have breathing efforts then, but not when the body comes out. And I often, like when a baby is sort of taking that little bit of time to transition to breathe, we'll get the parents to blow on the baby's face, and then that's usually what sort of stimulates them to take that breath.
Mm-hmm. And I would like to add that something that I observed and that it came to me slowly was, and that I've watched it in other breech births, in videos that I've also observed, is that yes, the mother, for example, when she's pushing, there will be poop coming out, because of the pressure of the baby. And many times they don't clean it. They might just wipe it fast or quickly, but they don't keep sort of touching the anus of the mother too much, as to not disturb her reflexes and not to avoid for her to become tense. And the same thing about the baby. I don't know if you noticed that the baby is actually hanging in a pool of meconium. The feet are dangling on the meconium. It's kind of a mess. And I remember thinking, they could sort of be changing the chucks, they could change it, they could make it cleaner. But as I observed more and I was learning more about breech, they actually tend to avoid touching the baby's body and disturbing it, to also avoid stimulating the breathing reflex and the reflexes of, to not have the baby tense up or become reactive in a way that distresses the baby or that even distracts the baby from what is happening. So I think it goes kind of hand in hand with the question about the stimulus of the breathing. Just try to keep the baby completely hands off and as much as possible without disturbing it. That's something that
I think that about the meconium, because I noticed that too. I thought, can someone slide another Chuck's pad under there? So yes. Thank you for the information.
Yes, I was observant of that, and it wasn't because I noticed, for example, with the vaginal births, they were very diligent about cleaning and changing, and And I was even doing that as part of you know, my participation in all the other births during those weeks, because it wasn't only breech births. And they were very diligent about it, but not with the breeches, which was quite a beautiful observation, I think.
I even had the same. I had my first breech birth, very unexpected, the other day, and I had initially had like a warm compress on the woman's peri, and I kind of just, I didn't know it was breech at the time, but I just didn't see too much head descent, so I kind of just intuitively, I'm like, I don't think I should be doing this now, and then it kind of presented itself, and so I don't know if that was maybe just I don't want to stimulate too much, or
Perhaps I will add that little comment to the subtitles or to the film. I might add that. I have to talk about it with Frank just to confirm if that is so, because I don't remember talking about it. I remember observing it, and then I remember reading it or watching it in some other source of breech birth. I'll confirm that with them, but I did observe that, and I'm pretty sure that he's going to be in agreement with it.
But
and I'm just curious, and because the woman did have an intact perineum, if just because of if that's something that is more common with breeches, just because of the, I don't know, they were sort of slower to come. I'm not sure. It could have just been what it was.
All of the breeches I saw had intact perineums. I never saw a tear. I don't know if any of you who have seen breeches have seen tears on them.
I think in the video, regardless to what you were saying, Naoli, in the video, there's a part where I think I saw him, that one of the women that was at the right side from him, she was going to hold or to move the baby for something, and he, no. So
Yeah.
he made it like very clear not to touch it. And I think was very interesting, because what you're saying is the way I thought about it. You're already interfering with a little bit of epidural. So if you continue interfering, touching the mom, touching the baby, touching everything, probably there's too much stimulation, and it's not easy for mom or baby to get tuned and continue doing what they were doing.
Right.
I also like about the video the position, the hands and knees, because I learned that position in the Andes with the countryside people, with the midwives, but in the Andes. And that is like the position to go when something is not working good. It's like the first reaction when it's not going in a natural way is always to go in that position. So it was very nice for me to see that position also in Germany, in a very specialized place that for sure they do research crazy. So it was very nice to see that is a position that actually it doesn't matter how much research or how much specialized you are, it's a position that works perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Quite beautiful.
I find that if when you leave women intuitively, that's majority of the time the position they sort of get into anyway. And I think it's like, it's interesting. We have this like hands off the breech kind of slogan that we use. It's like, why don't we just do hands off birth? Like, I feel like we'll have the same similar sort of like better outcomes that we have when we don't interfere with breech, if we don't interfere with birth in general, and just let women get into the positions that they want.
Yeah.
I went to a second breech birth a few weeks after the first one that I gone to, and I was a doula for that birth, and it was another surprise breech in the hospital. And because I'm so good as a doula at getting my clients to the hospital right before they start pushing, they didn't have time for a C-section. Anyway, she did tear a little bit though. She was in semi-reclining position. And that doctor did not get the hands-off breech memo at all. He was there with all of his tools, and he didn't get to use most of them, but he was ready. Anyway.
Was he pulling the baby, manipulating
He
it?
pulled a little bit, only a little bit. He didn't need to. That baby fell out, but he was ready and all ready to intervene and was trying to do things. And I'm like, you don't need to do that, buddy, because the baby was just falling out. But he wanted to be ready to do it and be a hero.
Yes.
So that mother tore just a little bit, just a little 1st-degree tear.
Yes. Okay. And it was a different position of birthing.
Very different.
So she was in a semi-reclining, and was there space for the baby to come onto? It was just like slid onto the bed?
No. No, they broke down the bed. So she's semi-reclining and they have a trash can there to catch everything.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my reaction.
Yeah, so
And
the baby's back came showing, right? The baby's bottom and back, and then the baby went down.
Yep, and the doctor was right there and grabbed his legs and pulled him upside down, because that's what you do when they're semi-reclining, I guess. The funny thing is this was my 2nd birth with this client, and the first time, once again, I brought her in just before she was pushing, and nobody in the hospital believed me, and I was a new doula at the time. So I didn't have a relationship with them yet either, and so no one believed me. I'm like, oh, she's going to be pushing any minute, and she had a beautiful 8-minute long rest and be thankful stage, and I was trying to tell them, no, she really is like pushing. She's going to be pushing any minute now, and they all came in ready and didn't believe me and left. And then sure enough, she started pushing, and the baby's head comes out on the bed that haven't broken down yet, and I'm just completely relaxed about it. Hey, you guys might want to come in here now, like I said. But it was just funny that at that time they would have been ready for, a breech baby to be born onto the bed, and it probably would have been great, and instead they were very, very ready.
Yeah, right. Well, that's
Naoli, hello. Can I comment?
Yes, please.
I'm driving, so my internet might be a bit wacky, but I guess it's working, right?
It is.
Okay, so hi, Heather. Hi, Naoli. Hi, everybody. I'm here in Los Angeles, and I am a student of Dr. Stu, Dr. Fishbein. So he is like the celebrity home birth doctor here who attends mostly twins and breeches. And I've been having this opportunity to work with him, all year round actually, and will continue. So it's a sort of different kind of apprenticeship, because he's not a midwife, right? So he's in the midwifery model. So he forms and he provides choices for women who want to birth at home with their twins and their breeches, and he has some certain criteria that they meet, but mostly everybody's like eligible. So I've witnessed some births with him and some breeches and some twins, and I think what I most learned from him is that in regards to breech, it's like it's either going to go pretty straightforward or it's not going to go at all. So that's really the message. Kind of like when you study the mechanics of breech, it works really well. And there's a time frame. Like the baby who's breech and is going to be born on his own, hands off, this baby is going to come, and very like straightforward way and within minutes. When this breech is not coming down, then there might be a problem. Like a woman has been dilated for, I don't know, hours, and she's been pushing for hours and all that. So this breech is not going to come out, things like that. But usually breech babies, they know their way, and just learning how to keep our hands in the pockets, I guess that's the most important message.
Mm-hmm.
Although, yes, like in your video, that was a very complicated, I mean, all the things were there, like the breech came, and it was a twin mama, and one leg up, one leg down. It was fascinating to watch all the neck coming out, and the mech coming out and the baby descending, but things were progressing and they were just waiting, right? It was very beautiful how they were all just waiting. And the minute he touches, he's like, he's not touching the baby all the time, and not the cord, does all his best to touch the cord and all the, I thought it was really fascinating. Even the episiotomy, like, I was like, oh, holy shit. Yeah, but anyways, I guess what I wanted to share is just that as crazy as it sounds, breech birth, when it works, it's like it's much easier than cephalic birth. At least how it goes.
It's getting distorted.
It's
It's getting a little bit distorted, your voice, Maida. At least I can't hear you anymore. Let's see if she comes back. But I think we got quite a bit of what she said, right? I might want to ask her when she comes back, what differences did she see between Frank's and Stu's techniques or perhaps approaches, but we'll wait for her to come back. And anybody would like to comment? Open mic.
I just wanted to say thank you so much. It was a fascinating video. I'm only new to the doula world, and it was really fascinating to watch. It's the second breech birth that I've ever seen, and I was terrified for a little while. But it was really fascinating. Thank you for sharing.
I'm very glad. Thank you. Thank you, Pam. I think it was quite a big impact, even in the hospital, for me to have been able to film it, and for the birth to have had all these different complications, and for Dr. Frank, to have been able to manage it, being present, and he's quite a master at it, and being able to catch it on film. It became a big sensation in the hospital, and everybody was sort of hunting me down, can I watch it? Can I watch it? Can I watch it? And these were doctors who have been working at the hospital for years, doctors who had attended 200 breech births, 40 breech births, 80 breech births. Everybody wanted to see it because you don't get to see that many complications. And when you do, you want to see how to solve them. And it is an absolutely a rare event to have been able to catch it on film. So far, I haven't seen any filmed breech births with complications that show the maneuvers that are successful. So it was really interesting for me to observe quite experienced doctors wanting the material to study with it. And we would sit down on a couch or a chair, or a little place where the doll and with a pelvis to practice the maneuvers and to hash it out, to be able to just soak it up, as much as possible. And I think Maida is back. I wanted to ask you, Maida, if you could tell us if you notice any differences in the styles of attending breech birth between Dr. Stu and Dr. Frank. Is that something you might be able to point out to us? I don't know if she's still back. It's kind of frozen, right? Okay, when she comes back, we'll ask her. Anybody else would like to comment?
I really appreciated how much video you had in there as well, with the mother's reflections and Dr. Leuven's reflections. That was very, very valuable. Some of the things he said, I just wanted to kiss him for.
Tell us which exactly were these things. Yeah.
I don't remember, but I remember sitting there going, yes, thank you. It was a really beautiful thing. Now I want to look it up again and figure out, write it down.
He said that fear is the opposite.
Yes, that was the one. That was the one. Yes, thank you. Yes, so good. because you could see that that was something the mother commented on too, how he was just fearless and going in, and the fear is, you know, the fear that we carry in, the mother picks that up too, and she tightens, and the baby picks that up, and maybe it doesn't want to come out. But yes,
that was a beautiful comment. Yes, and he also said, in his own words, that in order to get rid of fear, in order to become knowledgeable, you got to expose yourself to untempered birth, you know, natural birth, over and over and over. So you become soaked in that knowledge and that wisdom, and you can, you know, free yourself from the fear that will translate into lack of respect for the parents and the child and yourself. It was beautiful, beautiful.
I
Yes.
think something that the mom said, I think is valuable for everything in life, but as a midwife, I think it has a lot of wisdom in it, and it's when she said that not to think about doing things good or wrong, but to think about the consequences that you can live with. Because I think that is the detail, that you need to be able to, whatever you decide to do or whatever you decide not to do, be able to continue your life with that decision that you made in the moment. And in a birth like that one, that is a complete challenge in every single way, it's a lot more important to be absolutely conscious of every single small decisions that you're taking at the moment, and that you are going to have consequences, good or not, for the rest of your life. So you're able to live with the peace, a mental peace, that you did what you considered the best at that moment for the best result.
That was very beautiful and powerful.
Yeah.
And she also said that she doesn't necessarily recommend it to everybody, but she followed her feeling and her intuition. So she's talking about powerful things, not, she's not reckless, she's connected. And she fought for that birth. She fought for that birth because at every corner they were offering her a C-section, you know, to get the babies out because the cholestasis. And even when she arrived at the hospital, the doctors who received her, who was not Dr. Frank, said to her, "Oh, no, this has to be a C-section because of the risk of interlocking twins." And she said, no. I've been following with Dr. Frank and with the clinic, and they said that I should be able to do a vaginal birth. So I'm here for my vaginal birth. So they called up Dr. Frank on the phone. "What do you say? This woman here is insisting." And Frank said, let her have her vaginal birth. If she is aware of the possibilities, let's just do an ultrasound to try and rule out the interlocking twins, but let her do it. And then he got himself on his way to the hospital to be there. But she fought for that birth. It wasn't a casual thing that she had only because the hospital was nice or the doctors were experienced. You know, she had to really conquer that birth. And it's really beautiful to hear her power talking about anytime you do something great, you have to have, you know, team of people to share it with, to make it really just complete and circular and wholesome.
Yeah, I think that is exactly the power of birth. No, when women give themselves the opportunity, and the people who is around, doctors, midwives, everyone that is around, also let them pass through that journey of the birth, how empowering can be at the end, and all the wisdom that you get from that moment. And with her was very easy to see all the wisdom that she ended up having after that birth.
Yes. And you know, after she gave birth, of course, you know, I stayed with her and helped with the breastfeeding, and then I went to visit them at the postpartum unit to help with the breastfeeding, to just make sure she was good, because they don't have that much one-on-one support. You know, it's a hospital, they're busy. and then continue to have that relationship. When I sent her her video, I wanted to make sure that we watched it together so that I could explain to her the maneuvers, because she didn't see the maneuvers. She didn't see what we get to see from that point of view. And I wanted to know that she could understand so she wouldn't become afraid. And it was quite moving. And also the husband, he kept himself on the side of the woman, you know, his wife's head. He wasn't really peeking all the while watching the maneuvers. So it was a really powerful encounter, powerful meeting of them watching the video and us talking about how important it was. And they understood how precious the video was because of having caught on film the maneuvers to lead to the solution of a beautiful, beautiful birth. And that is something I wish I was able to convey on this video, which is, it doesn't matter if you have complications. And I also try to convey it on the meconium birth. It doesn't matter if you have complications, the birth is beautiful. It can be beautiful. It has beauty within it. You know, and many people who work with birth, if there is a complication or if there's something that is, you know, perhaps stressful at the moment, they forget that it has beauty, and many times they don't want to touch it again. Oh, never again I'll do that. Never again will I subject myself and to that stress on or the baby or the mother. It's the incapacity to allow to include into beauty challenging times. And I think challenging times are part of life, and they're beautiful also. So I think that got conveyed in the film. Do you agree? Would you think so? Yeah. I wanted to ask Valérie, there's this beautiful midwife here in the middle of the screen that I don't think I've heard you speak. Would you care to share who you are as well?
Yes, can you hear me?
Not so well. Can you get closer to the microphone?
Okay, let me try this. I have a speaker.
We can hear you.
Yeah, I'm here in Arizona. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. In the mountains of Prescott, Arizona. I have been serving women for 30 years while I've raised my 14 children. So it was never like a career. It was always attending friends and family and emergencies and all of that. So my experience going into midwifery school in birth, and I know Mayetta, was from this place of wonder and seeing things from a certain perspective, and all of the births that I'd attended were just always beautiful, and there weren't complications except maybe coming quickly. So it was so interesting going into the school and finding out how to deal with the emergencies and the twins and the breech and all of the beautiful things. And so my perspective is not fear, it's always excitement at birth. Like I don't have that inherent fear at this point because I just look at it as pretty miraculously. Mm-hmm. And I've just enjoyed everything that you have taught. I have not seen the twin birth video. I'm excited about that. I've just helped a mama who had mono twins. So that she was one step away from Siamese twins when they were implanted within her. And it was like a long journey, but she fought. I heard what you were saying. She fought. She signed herself out of the hospital, and she fought for those babies until the last minute when it was apparent that one of them had stopped growing. And so she did end up with a cesarean. But all the steps in between, she fought for to get the kind of experience that she was looking for. So that was beautiful.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's so nice to meet you. And Valerie, how many births did you get to attend in those 30 years with your 14 children?
When I started midwifery school, it was about 100. Yeah, so I'm probably like at 130 or 140 now. You know, it's not huge numbers, but it's all been beautiful. And it just like, I feel like the, all the inherent, all the things that are internal, that's where I'm working from a place of my heart and intuition and reading a woman without knowing the numbers and the signs and some of those things. Like I can read a woman in a different way, just from the way that I entered all of this. So it's been really beautiful. It's a little different than I think most people have entered midwifery, but my heart's calling since 1983, and that was my third birth. And then I went on to have 11 more, including twins. And, you know, my experiences, my husband, it was mostly unassisted because the midwives missed the birth, or we just decided not to have them because they were intrusive at the time, you know, too much meddling in the labor. And my labors were like 2 hours to 4 hours. So yeah, it was good experience. And just today I served a woman and I did the natural ultrasound on her because she's opposed to any kind of electronic technical stuff. She was so delighted. She was going to go throughout the community with her belly exposed, showing everybody her baby. So thank you for that.
Oh, that's beautiful. And Valerie, your own twin birth, they were born at home. How can you tell us about it a little bit?
Sure. Which birth?
Your twin, you had twin babies?
Okay, so my twins were not actually born at home. It was more interesting than that. So I was having, they were my number 12 and 13, and I had one more baby after that. So with them, I was going to see an old-fashioned doctor who was going to deliver me in the hospital naturally. And but at the same time, I was seeing a local midwife who wanted to follow me, although she couldn't technically deliver me because she's owned by the state and their guidelines. So she knew me, and she happened to be in town. So my doctor said if I could wait till 36 weeks before I delivered, that, you know, we would be able to do it in the hospital. So on the day of 36 weeks, which I had bed rest and done everything to keep them in, that day was like, I couldn't keep them in anymore. Drove into town, delivered the first baby, standing up in the midwifery office, and just, you know, big smile on my face, and was like, okay, can I just go ahead and let him out? And then about 2 hours passed by, and I'm still standing and nursing the baby and all of that. And she was getting nervous because that's a lot of time, you know, by normal standards. So she was going to call the paramedics who had been at my house the week before. And I thought, no, let's just go down to the hospital, which is 45 minutes away. So we got in the car, in my van. I'm nursing the first baby, laying sideways. The midwife and my husband are driving down the mountain to the hospital to deliver the other baby. And partway down there, like that 45-minute drive in the rain, in the storm, I said, pull over, and he came running around, and another midwife came that was following us, and everybody jumped in the van, and I popped out the second baby. So it was amazing, and it was a beautiful experience. Went into the hospital. They were 36 weeks, popped my placenta out, and went home 4 hours later. So it was a beautiful experience.
Oh, that's
and the most interesting thing about that is the second baby when they came through, came right through the veins of a velamentous umbilical cord, the whole placenta. So when the doctor saw that in the hospital, he turned ashen white, knowing he would have reached in and turned the baby and probably broke those vessels. And, you know, there could have been a disaster. So just trusting birth and our bodies is amazing.
Yes, it was a blessing that you were not in the hospital, for sure. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing.
Totally.
I always wanted to have twins myself, and I always said that if somebody told me I would have twins right now, I would get pregnant right away.
It was as beautiful as I had expected. I prayed for them for many years before I conceived them. They're identical, and they're the most amazing human beings ever. They're 20 now. They're 20. Wow. So, yep.
Valerie, do you have any picture of your whole family that you could put up to the screen and show us? I would love to see your whole family.
That's a good question. I have an old one. This isn't everybody, but this is in California, one of those redwoods. Can you see that one?
You have to put it.
That's not everybody. One's with everybody. It's a pretty big picture.
Yeah, you have to bring it up to the screen so we can see it. But
yeah, I'll do that.
You can do that maybe on the Facebook forum. You can share it with us because it's not every day.
Yes, I'll do that.
Yeah, A mother.
Yeah,
of
I'll do that. I'll put it on the
is
Facebook
great.
forum.
Yeah,
Very
wonderful.
fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so thankful to be here. I've missed all of the calls, and each time I go back and watch them. So I just popped on, and yay, I'm so glad to catch you.
Oh, very nice. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And Maddie, your baby is gorgeous. She's beautiful. She has the slanted eyes of a beautiful mama's look. She looks like you with eyes like that. So beautiful. What is her name?
That's funny. Lana.
Lana.
Yeah. She actually has my husband's eyes. He's Italian and they've all got these wide eyes. You can say hello, Chook, if you want to say hello, Beth.
Oh.
She's on the phone.
She's on the phone. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Very sweet.
She's very interested in her babies. She spends a lot of time putting her babies to sleep and feeding them and changing them and
So,
doing the poo-poo babies.
yeah.
lovely. Oh my goodness. Well,
I don't know.
Okay.
would somebody else love to share something regarding the last birth video or any other of the topics?
I have a question, Naoli.
Yes.
I haven't watched the video, but is the video more specific to a footling breech birth or frank breech? Because my first daughter was frank breech, and of course it was an automatic C-section. So I'm wondering how different would it have been, what it looked like with a frank breech birth?
I think it would have been similar. In this case, it was footling, but I think they would have gone ahead and done the same procedures. My little grandchild, she wants to participate. Hola, amigos. She speaks Portuguese. Hello. Olha, tem outra menina. Lana. Fala, oi, Lana. Oi, Lana. This is Eva, my grandchild.
Naoli, I'm not going to turn on my video. I'm back.
Yes, Maíra, please. Did you get to hear my question? Whether you could share with us the differences that you noticed between Dr. Stu and Dr. Frank's approach to breech birth?
Okay. What I want to say about Dr. Stu is that he's very skilled and he is very, very not afraid at all of birth. He really trusts women to do what they're built to do, and this is really his core belief. I've seen him maneuver babies out, especially second twins, and force, and she went to her back, and then by the time she's pushing, can you hear me? She couldn't really, and then he maneuvered the breech baby out.
So
Can you hear me?
It's a little bit choppy.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's windy here, and my internet is very broken.
Yes.
What I really wanted to say is that when I've watched Dr. Stu, let's say, do his maneuvers, it's very intuitive the way he moves. And when I ask him, so what did you do at that birth? And he'll tell me well, I don't know. I just moved and I did this with the arm and then did that. He doesn't really have, of course, he knows the cardinal movements and he knows what he's doing. It's just a very intuitive flow that he gets into. And I think it was very similar to what the German doctor did and was doing, and completely fearless and confident. Mm-hmm. And I think this is the beauty of being able to watch him work, observe him work, is just
we got a little bit cut off now, but I think we got the gist of what you're saying about it being intuitive and trusting. It's a very lucky situation that you have, Maida, to be working with him for this whole year, and hopefully for a longer time. Do you know if you will stay working for quite a while? I guess the internet is not strong enough. Can you hear us, Maida? I guess not. Yeah, it's a little bit choppy, Maida. We can't hear you anymore. So
Just dropped off again there.
Yeah, yeah.
One other thing I wanted to bring up with, who is she? She's working with Dr. Stuart Fishbein in Los Angeles area, I think. He actually released a paper on resolving interlocking twins. I don't remember what it's called, but you can find it, I bet, if you Google it. And he talks about a maneuver that he did in one case where, he talked about it in his workshop too, where he would reach his hands in, one of those intuitive movements, I guess, where he reached one hand in and was able to get the other one and just unlock them. But it's an interesting paper if people want to look it up.
Beautiful. Yes, I think that we probably won't have enough time, even if we study every day until the day we go, because there is a lot that interesting people around the world are doing. Some are more well-known than others, but I think it's beautiful to have access to those papers and articles and videos and whatever we can get our hands on from people around the world. It's a rich world. It's a rich world, and people are, I think, doing more and more of the sharing for just, more people getting to know the techniques and their findings. Because if we keep doing things exactly the way they were done before in the last 4 or 5 decades, we're not gonna get better results. So we have to either go back to the more ancient times when there were no hospitals or surgeries, that methods existed of resolving situations, or also base ourselves on people who are working with intuition and with more fearless attitudes of encountering nature and meeting nature in the face, to much like Valerie was saying, just working with what is being faced, what life is bringing. And it's also the way I worked very much so in Mexico. In the 30 years I've been a midwife, I am not a nurse midwife. I didn't go through the medical system to become a midwife. And I apprenticed with traditional midwives in Mexico in different regions. And I feel that most of the traditional midwives use and tap onto the resource of intuition to solve situations that we've never encountered before. Sometimes we will see things we've never seen before, and we just have to feel and be guided by our intuition how to solve it. And oftentimes afterwards, you realize what you did, and you definitely have to be thankful to the open channel that we become, and not to surrendering perhaps to the cognitive mind that may be filled with fear. The mind will become fearful. The thoughts lead us to fear because of our limitations. And of course we're limited. Our limitations are quite obvious. We are only one person. But if we may be able to free ourselves from fear, and our mind relaxes, and we become present, fully present in the moment, then we open up and we are able to perceive and capture, the messages or the guidance of the intuition. We don't know exactly if intuition comes from within or it comes from other sources, but it's definitely a connection that goes beyond the.
Have any experience besides my son with birth in person, and I feel very reticent to reach out to mothers as a doula and perinatal educator, and I think my question would be for you who have experience and have been through different. I'm in Luxembourg, where to be a doula is not actually, it's not a right. So by the
World Health Organization, you have the right to a doula, but here you don't actually have the right to have it in the room. So you have to fight for it with the hospital. It's not something guaranteed. And especially right now, you can either have your partner or you just birth alone. So to be present for these mothers, it's kind of conflicting for me, because I see all of you working and being able to be there for the mothers, and it's so freaking important and enriches their experience. And then here I feel like, how can I promise something so amazing, and then comes the date and the hospital doesn't let me in, or I don't feel, since I don't have that in-person experience, I feel like I'm not prepared 100%. So any insights in that, that your experience has given you, I'm thankful for it.
I have some insight for that. This is a pet
Yeah.
project of mine. For one, you are more powerful than you think, and so are the people you serve. You can do more than you think you can. Maybe not in the conventional way you're thinking, but reach out. Do reach out, and the more we're okay with restrictions like, the more they will persist. The more we speak up about them, and you don't have to make promises. You know, when you talk to your clients, when you talk to the women you serve, you say, this is the situation, and be honest with them. You know, you don't have to make any promises and say, this is what's going to happen, and this is what maybe you can expect. But it won't change unless we demand something different. And if you want to be part of that, I'm here to help you. And again, you can't make promises, but you can still do the work. And I hope that you will do the work. It's hard work, and I hope you'll do it, because we need it.
I really agree with that. I think as birth workers in general, we can't make any promises to women that we will 100% be there for their births. And I think the best thing you can do for a woman is help prepare her so she's not reliant on you, because really she needs to know and like be assured that like everything she needs to birth is within her, and you've helped her maybe uncover that during pregnancy. And during this COVID time, we haven't been able to go into the hospital as private midwives, but I have found the postpartum work I'm doing at the moment is even more valuable. And I think even if the woman has had not a great experience in the hospital, which as a birth worker, just because she has a doula or a private midwife with her, you can't guarantee that she's going to have a good experience in the hospital. That is kind of out of your hands. So putting in that postpartum care and nurturing, I think sometimes is even more powerful. And yeah, birth is political, so I think no one really knows that until they sort of get into this realm of work and realize that yeah, you have to sort of be an advocate and an activist as well.
Definitely. May I ask, how do you do post birth assistance? Because I've been doing it online, but there's like these little things like the technique that Naoli does, which is the traditional Mexican, or even just I don't know, you know, like a tea for like a hot tea that you can give for the mother, or just being there for her after birth. And here, like, there is this fear system installed that mothers, they will not come near people, and they will not accept anybody in their, you know, proximity, especially after birth. There's this a lot of you know, like, keep your distance. And it's already a country where most women are birthing without a family around. There is no village. There's a lot of international families here, and their families are miles away, and before they would even travel, but now they don't travel. So it's just the mother, the baby, and the father goes back to work, or the mother goes back to work right away. So the postpartum time, I think it's amazingly special here because of the need that they have. And that when I birthed it here, I also noticed that it was like, where is everyone? Who should I seek guidance to? Who can I reach out to?
Those are very good questions, and I really feel that that would be a very good question, Corina, to post on the forum, because it will stimulate a very rich conversation. You will get different points of view from different people from different regions, and it will certainly apply differently, depending on the people that you're working with and the region that you're living in and the populations. So I would invite you to post that in the forum and just keep checking, because people are sharing a lot of good things there. So if you agree, we'll let that conversation continue in the forum. I think it would be beautiful. I had gotten.
I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah. Everybody seems frozen to me. I think it's because my internet fell and I had to connect my phone to feed the computer to be able to continue the conversation. So everybody looks frozen to me. Can you see me? Am I animated?
Yes.
Yes, you are. I hope we're frozen in a nice image.
Yes, you became animated, Juliana. Well, I think that we've come to the end of the session. It's been 1 hour and almost 15 minutes. And I think what I would like to say before we say goodbye is that I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart that you have signed up for the workshops, that you've given me and my family a very big incentive and stimulus and just joy for our creating these videos this year during the pandemic. It has been our great joy and our great challenge to get them done in time and to produce them. We've come a long way, and it's been a beautiful process of growth for myself as a person, as a midwife, but also as a family. And it is thanks to you. And I would like to thank you again from the bottom of my heart. And I'm very, very happy to have been meeting you. It feels beautiful to come to the Zoom session and see your beautiful faces. It feels like a family, and truly does feel like a family. It's just heartwarming. And I hope that all of your families remain in health, and everybody around you, and for the whole planet to come to a beautiful new year, and that we come to the other side of the COVID with strength and joy, a lot of conscience, and just a beautiful awakening for this new year for all of us. And I would like to just wish you a very happy new year and embrace you with my arms, give you big hugs and big kisses. And we'll see each other soon. Yes, we will see each other soon.
Thank you, Naoli.
Thank you so much.
Everyone.
Have a good
Very
night,
much
everybody.
to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Big kisses.